The court is now back in session. We now would like to hand over to counsels for Mr. Nunji to continue putting questions to this witness. And please be, can you advise the chamber as to how you share this allocated time with counsels for Mr. Kilsampon? Counsel Kope, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, we have just briefly discussed, and this is a request on behalf of both teams. We would like to have that half-hour extra as well. So it is our intention that I would finish around 4, and that the counsel for Kilsampon would then finish at 4:30.
The President, you may proceed, and the chamber now gives additional 20 minutes to the other counsel, as we already offered to the party.
Mr. Witness, I was asking you before the break about the number of people in and around that building. If I have understood your testimony correctly, you also spoke about approximately 30 people belonging to this group who were soldiers from Tulpo Tray Fortress. Would you be able to tell us how you knew or how you came to the conclusion that there were about 30 soldiers from the Tulpo Tray Fortress?
Response. People were gathered up from various units to attend the session, and I knew some of them. I heard from friends who came to the place, and because of this I could come to the conclusion of the number I already testified.
Do you still remember any names and ranks of Tulpo Tray Fortress soldiers?
Response. No, I don't remember them.
You also testified that you knew of this group of approximately 500, 10 to 20 people personally. Insofar as they were former Lono military, would you be able to remember their names and their respective ranks?
Response. I remember very little.
But surely you must be able to remember at least one name with rank of the approximately 500 people you said you saw.
Response. I remember few of them, but they are no longer here with us. I still recollect one of my friends who claimed that he was also there at that time. He is by the name of Leng Kang. He used to be a soldier, and I met a few of them. So altogether, he already told me that at least about 20 or so people were asked by him to come to that place.
You're saying Leng Kang claimed that he was there. Is he still alive? Mr. Witness, is he still alive?
Response. He already went through education session at Tulpo Chray. That's my answer.
Very well. You mentioned now one person who you said was present. You said also you knew personally between 10 and 20. You're also saying that the big group of approximately 500 people, most of them are dead. Now surely you will be able to remember at least one name and the accompanying rank of the soldiers who were there.
Response. I don't know about this. I don't know this person because such rank is of a senior position already.
So with this I can understand that it is difficult to remember, but you said you knew personally 10 to 20 people who were there. Again, surely you'd be able to remember at least one name of your former comrades who were there at this meeting.
Response. I think perhaps you need to make it clear distinction between people who attended the meeting and those who were from Tulpo Chray. Can you do that for me, please?
Of course, I'm not speaking anymore now about the soldiers from the fortress at Tulpo Chray. I'm only speaking about the people, or the persons, between 10 or 20, of whom you testified earlier that you knew them personally. Now my question to you is, could you give us one name of those 10 or 20 people that you knew personally? Name and rank.
Response. I am not clear about this. Are you asking about the ranks of the soldiers who were from Tulpo Chray, or you asking about the ranks of the soldiers who attended the meeting at the provincial hall?
Again, Mr. Witness, I'm asking you to name one name and accompanying rank of a former Lon military who was there, present at this meeting.
Response. As I said in the meeting, those who attended the meeting on that day, I believe I knew about 10 of them, including people from different ranks, who were former Lonol officials. and they were under the supervision of General Prum, rather General Mia Hun, and other people who were holding the senior positions in the military, and I don't recollect them all, but these people were gathered up in that meeting.
Now, Mr. Witness, the next day, according to your testimony, there was again a gathering of former Lon Nol soldiers and possibly officials. You testified also that it was again a group of approximately 500. Now I'm going to ask you the same line of questions as I did before the break. Can you explain to us again how you came to that number of 500, but this time in respect of that meeting on the second day?
Response. The number of attendees in the following meeting was not that different from the previous number of people who attended the previous meeting, because they were the civil servants and officials.
Are you saying that the group that was there at the second day was more or less the same as the day before?
Response. They were the same people.
Now, would you be able to give us one name of a person, including his military rank, who was there with you that second day?
Response. The same people with the same names. Because in the second and the following meeting, there were the same people who would be called to attend that meeting again.
Mr. Witness, was there that second day a list, maybe perhaps with names and ranks? Somebody keeping up presence of all the people that were there on that second day?
Response. It is impossible.
Again, and this will be my last attempt. You have been testifying that the 500 people who were gathered together at that second day, shortly afterwards, went into the trucks and left, and were afterwards executed. Now, I'm sure that must have had a severe impact on you. So my question again, would you be able to remember at least one name of the people who were present during that second day?
Response. When I am talking about the second meeting, I think that would be the final meeting already, because during the first and the second meeting, then the decision was already made After Tul Puchray, there was no other meeting indeed.
Did I not understand you correctly? Are you now talking about 3 meetings? The first, the second, and the final? Or are you still speaking about 2 meetings?
Response. The reason that I emphasized was that there were only 2 meetings, and that the final meeting which I refer to here means the final meeting of the 2 meetings before people were sent to Tul Puchray.
Now, Mr. Witness, at this second and final meeting, do you remember if you saw anybody among those approximately 500 people wearing something military, either boots, backpacks, uniform trousers, anything resembling military gear?
Response. Not all of them were wearing civilians. Half of them were also seen wearing military uniforms.
Were you able to recognize ranks, etc., from these military uniforms?
Response. Among them, their ranks were removed from their uniforms already, but I still remember a person, for example, General Li Hun and the other senior military officers, and also Nu Sun, the governor of their province, was also among them, and other civil servants attended the session.
And do you know why these military had removed their ranks or signs of rank and insignia?
Response. I think it was their business, and I am not able to know this.
Do you remember if you had made a choice beforehand to go in civilian clothes or in military uniform? And what were you in fact wearing that second day?
Response. So you are asking about me personally. Is that true?
Yes. Were you wearing a civilian clothes, or were you wearing a uniform that second day?
Response. During the second session, I already changed my clothes to civilian ones.
You were speaking earlier this morning about 50 to 60 guards, Khmer Rouge guards. Were they present at both the first day and the second day?
Response. Yes.
You said this morning that the first meeting lasted about, if I remember correctly, 2 to 3 hours. How long did the second meeting at the second day last?
Response. It lasted for the same approximate time.
You were speaking earlier about the presence of Tasot. Was Tasot present at both meetings?
Response: yes, he was.
You were also speaking about other Khmer Rouge top leaders being present. Why you say top leaders? On what knowledge do you base, or are you saying that they were top leaders?
Response: I'm afraid I don't understand your question.
You said that Tasot was speaking at the meetings, actually at both meetings. He was speaking about reconciliation and country building, etc. But you also said that, and I quote you literally, other top leaders of the Khmer Rouge were present. How did you know that they were top leaders? Why do you call them top leaders?
Response: I saw them standing near Tasot wearing proper hats or caps, so I could tell that only some top leaders could be wearing such hats or uniform or clothes.
Do you know their names?
Response: I only remember Tasot.
And you had testified earlier that Tasot was speaking about reconciliation and country building. Do you remember what he said literally? Do you remember his exact words?
Response: I did not hear every word he said during the meeting, but during the 3-day session he precisely made his clear speech in the session.
Are you now saying 3-day session, or is that a mistake?
Response: the meeting in the provincial hall, I did not see him giving any lecture, but I attended a study sessions at Swai Lahong location when he mentioned about the political view or standpoint, and that's when I refer to him having said such thing in the session, the 3-day session.
But you have testified earlier today that Tasot was also present, as a matter of fact, at both days at the gathering at the provincial town hall or close by. So was Tasot there, and if yes, what did he say?
Response: he talked about reconciliation, about how we could gather to receive Angkar.
Yes, but he spoke for 3 hours, as I understand. Do you remember something more?
Response. He didn't talk much further than this.
Then who else was speaking? Or why did this meeting, also the second meeting, lasted for 3 hours?
Response. There were other people who had the floor, but I just don't take good notice of them.
At one point, the second meeting at that second day was finished. I presume everybody left the building. Can you describe exactly how the exiting of the building went?
Response. After the meeting concluded, everyone could leave the premises.
I understand that, but what happened? What happened? Could you describe for us when the meeting was done, where everybody went? Did they go outside and go on the street? Where did people leave? Can you describe for us exactly how that went in those weeks in 75?
Response. When the meeting was over, people left the building as usual. There was nothing out of the ordinary because in the meeting there was no such thing as to suggest that they would be taken for execution following day. So people did not know about their future fate.
Could you describe for us how the people left that building that you described earlier? Did they go on the street, went left or went right? Did some of them go home? Did some of them stay a little in front of that building? Could you give a little more detailed description?
Response. I did not care to know whether or where they could have gone to because when the meeting was done, I just left and I did not take note of how people would be exiting the place.
But Mr. Witness, you testified earlier today that everybody was excited and that everybody wanted to go on the trucks and that you tried yourself to get on one of those trucks.
President, witness, please weigh the prosecution, that you may proceed.
So, if that helps, I'll rephrase.
No, Your Honour, it's not so much an objection, but I think initially the conversation may have started out about the second meeting, and then a minute ago the discussion was about the first meeting, and now it's continuing into the second meeting. So there's a lack of clarity here, because at the last few questions and answers he was referring to the first meeting, and then this question was based on the fact that it was the second meeting, so it just may be a bit confusing for the witness.
If it was unclear, I apologize, but I was always speaking, at least the last 25 minutes, about the second meeting. So, Mr. Witness, to be absolutely clear, we're talking about the second day. please describe for us what happened when the group of 500 left the building? Did they go left? Did they go right? Did they gather? What happened?
The second day was held after we all agreed to get onto the tracks. The tracks were parking outside, and we were led onto the tracks, and nobody went anywhere else but getting onto the tracks. That was what happened on the second and the final meeting day. Even I myself, I came outside, and some other people actually walked outside before me, and they already got onto the tracks. I was refused to get onto the track because it was already full.
Do you remember where the trucks were standing? Were they standing in front of the provincial town hall, of which you just saw a photo, or were they standing and waiting in front of this other building?
The trucks were parking in line in the front. They were parked in front of the provincial town hall.
So when you left the building, everybody had to go to the left? Is that correct?
In fact, they went to the back through the road, not to the left, because they came for the tracks.
Let me be more specific. Through which gate did the people, the 500 people on that second day, leave? Which gate did they exit in order to go to those trucks?
They exited through both gates.
So also the gate that was shown to you on the photo?
That was the first gate.
And people exited from the gate which was a little further away when you're standing in front to the left. Is that correct?
Yes.
Were you able to see how many people who were in the trucks before they left had military gear on? You saw about between 10 and 15 trucks. How many of the people who were on those trucks were wearing something military?
On each track, there was a mixture of civilians and those who were wearing military uniforms. There were also students. So, there could even be some ordinary people. So, let me say again, it's a mixture of a civilian and military or soldiers.
Are you able to give a mix, an estimate about the mix? How many of those people on the trucks had military uniforms on and how many were dressed in civilian clothes?
I could not give you an estimation on that.
Was it 50-50, half-half?
President, witness, you do not need to respond. It's a leading question.
ភេទទំនួលនាំមុខ
Leading question. Mr. Witness, are you able to give an estimate of what percentage of the people in those trucks had military uniforms on?
I cannot tell you that.
One last try. Would you be able to say the majority or the minority were wearing military clothes?
They were in the minority.
The military were in the minority, correct?
Yes.
Which direction, when you are standing with the back to the gate of the provincial townhouse, did the trucks go?
It wants toward the east. It means in the direction of the water flowing down.
But if you have the gate of the provincial town hall in your back, did the cars go left or did the cars go right?
If I head my back through the provincial town hall, the tracks went to the left.
You tried to get on one of them, but you failed at that. And then you saw, I presume, the trucks leaving. How long did you have the trucks in your vision?
It was a little bit more than 1 hour.
Maybe you didn't understand me well, Mr. Witness. You saw the trucks leave. How long were you able to see with your own eyes the trucks driving?
Please repeat your question. I don't get it.
You were standing on the road. You were seeing the trucks leaving. How long did you have those trucks with your eyes? How long were you able to follow those trucks with your eyes? 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, or an hour, as you said?
I did not stand and waiting there at the gate. I was running after one of the tracks, but I was not allowed to get onto the track. So then the track kept going. So I tried to get on another one, but no luck again. So it was quite a while. It could be between 15 minutes to half an hour before the tracks disappeared.
Are you sure about that, Mr. Witness? Could you give a description of this road that is in front of the provincial townhouse? How long are you able to see cars or trucks or people on that road?
The road from the provincial town hall to Tulpu Chirai, if I was standing there and just watched the tracks going, I could see the tracks going for about 1 kilometer and then it would disappear at a turn.
Turn where? Which direction did they go after 1 kilometer? If I were to stand with my back to the provincial town hall, the tracks would go toward the left. And you saw them go left after about 1 kilometer, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Is it correct to say that you only saw them go to the left, but you didn't see them drive to Tulpo Tray?
That is correct.
You only saw them driving away and after 1 kilometer go left. Is that a fair summary?
Yes.
Now I move on to the last subject. Mr. Witness, you said that 3 days after you saw those trucks leave, you encountered Pat and Dor. How do you remember it was 3 days after the trucks had left?
Please repeat your question.
You said that you met Pat and Dor 3 days after you saw the trucks leave the provincial town hall. Can you explain to us how you remember, though it was only 3 days, or it was 3 days?
I met the two people who told me that they fled from Tulpu Chirai. They whispered to me briefly about that and they talked about the killing there. And of course, I mentioned that in my PV that 2 weeks later they were chased and arrested for execution.
But my question is, how you remember it was only 3 days? Was the meeting at the second day, for instance, at a Tuesday, and you met them on a Friday, or something else? How do you know it was 3 days?
It could not be more than 3 days. That was based on the facts that the bulldozers were sent in that area to bury the dead bodies.
Now you're speculating, I think, Mr. Witness. Can you give us concrete facts on which you base your recollection that it was 3 days later that you saw Pat and Dor?
It was based on when the bulldozers were sent. And I knew that it was 3 days after that when the bulldozers were sent. And I saw the bulldozers. And it means that the killing already took place before the bulldozers were sent. And I was even told that I should be careful.
Were Pat and Dor also present during that second meeting?
I did not see them. But as I said, they told me that they were the victims who fled from the Tulpuchre.
So you have no recollection whatsoever of Pat and Dor being present that second day or that first day?
Indeed, because there were many people.
Do you remember the details that Pat and Dor gave you about what they had seen the days before?
We did not have a proper conversation as we were all vigilant. They told me that I should be careful.
I'm sure, but Mr. Witness, I understood your testimony that they had witnessed the execution of the very same people that you had meetings with during 2 days. Surely they gave you some details of the things they had seen before.
We did not talk for long. And we were the victims, and we could not meet for long, as we could have been monitored and investigated.
But, Mr. Witness, you just explained that you were present at a meeting of 500 people. And these people were sent away in trucks. 3 days later, you meet Pat and Dor, and they are saying, according to your testimony, that all those people apparently have been killed. Now, please remember, try to remember if they had given you any details about what they had seen with their own eyes.
President, witness, you do not need to respond to this question. I believe the witness response is sufficient already.
Indeed, Mr. President. I think I will finish my questioning, Mr. President. Thank you.
Bonjour, Monsieur le témoin.
Good afternoon, Mr. Witness. My name is Arthur Verken. I am one of the lawyers representing Mr. Kyo-Sompong. I have a few questions of clarification to put to you. I seek to cross-check some points that I'm not sure I fully understood. With respect to the first meeting you attended following defeat, was it held at Bakan City Hall? Is this correct?
I already stated that I left the Svai Don Kao, and then I arrived at that location at night, and I stated that in my PV clearly. The meeting was held at the Bakan district.
Est-ce qu'elle s'est tenue à la...
Was it held at the City Hall of Bakan? And if so, what village held the building of the district of Bakan?
Bakan office, district office, was next to National Road number 5, that is within the Bakan district.
Est-ce que...
And is Bakan district office located in a town or village called Trapieng Chong?
It was to the west of Trapieng Chong. It was about 300 to 500 meters from Trapieng Chong.
À combien de...
How many kilometers away from Pursat was it located, the district office of Bakan?
It was between 10 to 15 kilometers.
During the first meeting, which was held at the Bakan district office, were you still wearing your military uniform?
At that time, I was still wearing the military uniform.
À quelle heure?
And at what time during the day was the meeting at Bakan district office held?
I could not know when the meeting started, but once I arrived at that location, the meeting was underway, and then we were asked to join the meeting.
Vers quelle heure?
And around what time of the day did the meeting held at Bakan district office end?
I did not stay until the conclusion of the meeting, and I mentioned that in my PV. I actually crawled myself out of the meeting, and then I went forward.
Est-ce que vous...
Did you flee from the meeting? Is that correct, Mr. Witness?
I secretly left the meeting.
Pourquoi?
Why?
The reason was that once we were traveling for one whole day, we were fired upon. It means that they did not trust us.
Vous a-t-on
So you were fired at during the meeting that took place at Bakan District Office?
When we left Svai Don Keo,
Mais
But why did you crawl out of the meeting? Was there a precise reason why you decided to secretly leave the meeting before it ended?
personally, I hurried to go and reunite with my family.
quand vous dites que vous
And when you state that you wanted to meet your family, are you talking about your family that was residing in your native village of Sveigong?
The interpreter could not guess the response from the witness.
je pense pour les cabines d'interprétation.
Perhaps the witness's lack of an answer is due to my poor pronunciation. You had to return to your native village in order to join your family. What is the name of your native village?
It was Svai Luang village, Ba Nam commune, Bakan district, Pusat province.
Est-ce bien dans
And in that village, did you arrive in that village following the first meeting that was held at the Bakan district office?
Yes, indeed.
à quel
At what point did you take off your military uniform?
Response. I did that the following morning when I got to my village. We had to take off all the uniforms and we had to float the removed uniforms onto Posat River.
pourquoi avez
But why did you throw your uniforms into the river? Was it so that they couldn't be found at your house? Is that the reason?
Response. It is true, yes.
et pourquoi ne vouliez-vous
Why didn't you want anybody to find your military uniforms at your home?
Response. If they saw them, we would be dead.
et pourtant
Nevertheless, Mr. Witness, the same day you go to Pursat, to the provincial office, to attend a very large meeting in which you know a lot of people and which includes a good many soldiers that you were used to working with. Now, wasn't that extremely dangerous to go to that meeting? Especially since you were trying to hide the fact that you were a member of Lon Nol's army.
Response. Not I alone who had to take off our military uniforms. Other former soldiers had to remove their uniforms as well to make sure that we could blend in civilians easily.
Yes, but you were dicing with death if they found out that you were a soldier, as you yourself said. And you also said that at the second meeting that was held in Pursat, you knew an awful lot of the people. So, how was it that you were prepared to run such a risk, while at the same time you were trying to conceal your previous military activities?
Response. I am afraid I don't understand your question. You asked about why should I run such a risk. Can you please be more precise?
You're on the battlefield. People shoot at you. You retreat and show a white flag. You then attend a meeting in the Bakan district office, which you then run away from. You go back to your birthplace, you throw your uniform into a river because you know that you're risking death if you're found out to be a member of Lon Nol's army. And despite all of that, on the very same day you run the risk of going to Pursat, to the provincial office, to attend a meeting which brings together all of your fellow soldiers, military and civilian people who are your former colleagues, who very well might have pinpointed you as a former Lon Nol soldier. And my question is why? Since up to then you took all of the precautions that you told us about, did you then run the risk of going to the second meeting in Pursat?
The President, Mr. Witness, could you please hold on, and Mr. Co-Prosecutor, you may now proceed.
Your Honour, I don't disagree with the general proposition of the question, but the evidence is not that the witness went to the second meeting or the first meeting in Pursat on the same day as the Bakan district office. It was a week later. The question might be still relevant, but it's, you've heard the evidence, Your Honours, that on the 24th and 25th the meeting was in Pursat, and the meeting in the Bakan district office was on the 17th of April or thereabouts. So it's a week later. But the premise of the question is obviously relevant. But it certainly wasn't the same day. That's not his testimony.
Merci pour cette précision.
Thank you, Mr. Prosecutor, for that important detail. Mr. Witness, my question stands. Although you took all of these precautions to avoid being pinpointed as a former London soldier, why did you take the mortal risk of going to the second meeting that was held in Pyosat?
Response. To me, it was not a risk, but it was a great precaution when I attended this event, because I had to grasp what being said in that meeting.
Donc,
So your curiosity got the better of the mortal risk you were running. Can we say that?
puis-je avoir la traduction, s'il vous plaît, en français?
Please, may I hear the translation in French of the witness's response? Mr. Witness, I don't think your response came across on the system.
Response. Can you please repeat that question?
La curiosité.
Curiosity got the better of the mortal risk you were running. Am I right?
Response. Yes, you are.
Je vais passer à un autre.
Let's move to another issue, Mr. Witness. At the start of your questioning with the prosecutor's office, you explained at some length that you belonged to the Education Ministry, and the purpose of that particular department was to protect the Cambodian heritage, including that of the Democratic Kampuchea period. Is that correct?
Response. No, it isn't. It didn't serve or work in the Democratic Kampuchea period.
Après.
I'm talking about after that period.
Response. Are you referring to the 1979 event?
Oui, je voudrais savoir.
Yes. I want to know if you belong to associations or organizations that were gathering evidence to organize a trial of the Khmer Rouge.
Response. After the Khmer Rouge regime was over, and after 1979, of course, I took part in the education field in the Ministry of Education, and I worked as a teacher. And at that time, I was provided some trainings in Phnom Penh, and there was document presentation regarding how we gather documents from across the country, and at that time I was chosen as one of the representatives who could present the team who got the evidence or rather documents about the democratic Cambodia regime, and you can also go and check to find out my name who in POSAT be representing such group.
In addition to working as an organizer in that association, were you yourself also designated as a witness?
Response. All 5 of us were the witnesses representing POSAT province.
Plus tard,
Later, in the subsequent years, in your work, did you ever get instructions from the government to destroy any evidence of what had happened in your region in the democratic Kampuchea days?
Response. So far as I remember, there was approval from the upper level to destroy evidence at villages and communes. It was unanimously agreed throughout the country.
Are we talking about destroying documents? What kind of evidence was involved here?
Response. In 1979, at each village and commune, they collected the remains of the deceased from different stupas and then to store at different stupas, but later on there was a policy to have them removed. The President, Council Vacan, you may have 5 more minutes for questioning this witness.
merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. Apart from moving these remains, did you yourself become aware that documents that might have served as evidence for things that occurred during democratic Kampuchea had been destroyed on the orders of the government?
Response. The instruction was in a formal written form that these remains had to be destroyed. The President, I believe that the question would not be like that. The question was about the content of the document, whether documents in the form of evidence was also subject for being destroyed, not that the instruction was in the form of written document. I think the question should be repeated and witness should be now listening to the question again to respond precisely to what being asked.
At that time, was evidence dating back to democratic Kampuchea destroyed?
Response. No, documents remained. They were not destroyed.
À quelle époque
When were those instructions issued? Could you tell us which year it was?
Response. Which instruction, please? Can you clarify this?
Des instructions.
The instructions requesting you to destroy evidence.
Response. The instruction was for us to destroy the stupas and the crime sites. And though I did not see whether documents were destroyed, but there was a common consensus at each commune and village that we had to destroy the remains of the deceased.
Dernière.
One last question, sir. I suggest to you that when you met the investigators from this court, you said that these instructions concerned the destruction of documents, and you said that you had indeed started to destroy documents. Can you remember having said that to the court's investigators?
Response. I don't understand your question. Can you please repeat it?
On m'indique effectivement.
I've been told that the interpretation into Khmer might have been slightly confusing, so let me repeat this. I am reminding you that when you met the investigators of this tribunal on the 10th of June 2008, you told them that the government's instructions were for you to destroy documents, and you also told them that you had indeed started to destroy documentary evidence. Do you remember having told them that?
Response. The President, Mr. Witness, could you please hold on? And Counsel Vacant, can you refer the chamber to any particular portion of the statement this witness gave to the investigators so that we are on the same page? It is rather confusing now because we already clarified the destruction of documents, because if this matter is not well verified, then it would be very dangerous. So please make sure you pinpoint to the right portion of the wordings of his statement before putting this question to him again.
Alors,
well, this is the same difficulty that I faced yesterday, Mr. President. It was a rather complex experience yesterday. I am, in fact, referring to a recording of the interview with the witness, with the court's investigators, D12548R, and it's from 1 hour 58 minutes at which point the witness explains to the investigators that he had received government instructions to destroy evidence and that he had, in fact, begun to do precisely that.
The President, Mr. Witness, could you please now respond to the question? Remember, documents, evidence in the form of documents would refer to hard copies of documents like this. And the other thing would be exhibits. So please distinguish the term exhibits and evidence, because evidence is in the form of documents or recordings or other means. But now, when we refer to evidence, perhaps documents also help people to understand this. So the question is whether documents or evidence in the form of documents were ever instructed to destroy. Response: to be precisely clear, I would like to say that no document was ever destroyed. It was instruction for me and for others to destroy only the exhibits, rather the remains of the people who could have died during the Democratic Cambodia period. And the idea was that these remains shall be cremated other than being put up on display. So documents still were intact. They were not destroyed. And the destruction here refers to only the scalps, the bones, the remains that were put up on display. And because we Cambodian people are Buddhists, having seen such scalps that being put up on display like that didn't do any good to us. So there was an instruction to have them destroy the remains of these people, including the bones and scalps. And indeed, we did not do anything or receive any instruction to destroy documents.
Alors, Monsieur le Président, je pense que...
Mr. President, I don't think I can really take this any further.
The President, you asked for 20 minutes, and we've been kind enough to offer you 25 minutes. So we should have learned from how time has been allocated to other parties, so it should be enough already for you. The President, Mr. Sum Alat, your testimony now comes to an end. Mr. Vekang, we already stopped you here because you were offered 25 minutes. Actually, originally, the chamber wished to offer you only 20 minutes, and we were kind enough to offer you extra 5 minutes. Now your time was already used.
Monsieur le Président,
That's actually what I was saying, Mr. President. You cut off my microphone when I was explaining I could go no further, and that is why I'm just taking the floor again to say I can go no further and to make it clear that I will.
The President. Now, you have used the extra 6 minutes already. We already reminded you that you had 5 minutes remaining a moment ago, and that we already flagged you on this. Mr. Sumalat, your testimony now comes to an end. You are now excused. The court is very grateful to your attendance and your testimony during the whole day We appreciate your patience and efforts. Your testimony helps ascertain the truth. The Chamber wish you all the very best and safe travels. And the hearing today comes to an end also. The Chamber will adjourn. Now, the next hearing will be convened on Monday next week, starting at 9 a.m. On Monday next week, the Chamber will continue the hearing on the key documents presentation. The floor that would be given to counsels for Mr. Nguyen Chia, and the response or observations will be made by counsel for Mr. Nguyen Chia to the co-prosecutors and the co-lawyers for the civil parties during the previous hearing. And we would like to inform the public and the parties to the proceeding of the schedule. Court officer is now directed to assist with the Wesu unit to make sure that Mr. Sumalat is returned home safe and sound, and security personnel are now directed to bring Mr. Kyusampon and Nguyen Chia back to the detention facility and have them return to the courtroom on Monday, the 8th of July at 9 a.m. Mr. Nguyen Chia shall be returned only to his holding cell downstairs, where he can observe the proceedings through audiovisual link. The court is adjourned.